There are 70 different types of skills to max out in The Sims 4, and do you know which one is the most important? Cooking, of course. There are a total of 58 base game recipes in The Sims 4 that your sim will unlock as they level up their skill all the way to 10. And today, I will be making all, yes, all of them alongside my in-game sim. Hello, gamers. Welcome to my game room. We are going to be playing The Sims today. We gotta change our aspirations, okay? Master Chef, of course. Okay, we're ready to go, I think. Let's do Henford on Bagley. I love the cottagecore. Oh, this is a cute house. Our first recipe, grilled cheese. And we didn't burn down the house. All right, Simmers. We got our first recipe coming up hot. We're gonna grease up this pan. We got some brioche, and we're gonna add this to the pan. We got two kinds of cheese. We got American and provolone. We're gonna crank up the heat a little bit. Surely that won't be a problem, right? We have some very finely toasted bread. I'm flipping it over and I'm going to add the cheese. This is a level 2 chef thought, but I'm gonna add some salt. Don't tell anybody. I'm going to combine the bread slices into one Uh-oh, it burnt a little bit. Let me put some more butter on this. Oop, oop, It's cheese and bread. There's a little bit of char, but it's very good. Now we're moving on to our second recipe, eggs and toast. Where's the egg? Okay. The pan has been greased. We're gonna throw this in there. I think this is a simply stovetop recipe in The Sims. Okay, that's already toasted on one side. Salt and pepper, AKA salt and gochugaru, because gochugaru is amazing. Oh my God, this bread just soaked up so much butter. I also have to add a little pat of butter. I'm gonna add another little pat of butter to this because that's how it looks in the game. Perfect. Very buttery, as we all kind of expected. This egg looks perfectly fried though. Dip the bread in some yolk. Other than the bread completely soaking up all the butter, this is really good. All right, on to our third recipe, salad. Look at that. That's exactly how I chop too. And everybody make sure to point out how good I am at chopping in the comments. The resolution for the food on The Sims is not impressive at all. So I kind of had to guess on what the toppings were. And it doesn't appear to have a dressing of any sort. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some balsamic vinegar. It's good. I'm gonna try the raw mushroom. Yum.
I love it.
We got mac and cheese. All right, pouring all the ingredients into a pot. Pour it all out onto a plate. And we got macaroni and cheese. Now, normally at this point, I would have an apron on, but that is not a level 1 activity, so we're not doing that. All right, let's boil up this pasta. And I have another pan here to start making the cheese sauce. It says to mix these ingredients beforehand, but we're level 1. We don't know how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and just add everything to the pan and hope for the best. Butter, salt, garlic granules. I prefer that over garlic powder. Also, some flour. All right, my water's almost boiling and I feel like a level 1 sim would add the pasta a little bit too early. So we're gonna do that. Now we're gonna add in a cup of milk. Hey Siri, set a timer for 6.5 minutes for the pasta. Al dente. Kind of looks like a mashed potato consistency a little bit. I may have added a wee bit too much flour, and that's probably my problem here. So we're gonna add a little bit more milk. I'm gonna go ahead and add in the yogurt. Turn down this temperature a little bit. Whisk this up. Here's the consistency we're working with right now. Now it's time to add in the shredded cheddar. I'm gonna have to add more milk to this. All right, the pasta should be sufficiently boiled. Oh, that is rock hard pasta. We're going back on the stove. Oh yeah. Now that's a good looking cheese sauce. I realize I have made a grave mistake And I did not even salt my pasta water. Shame on me. Salt it like the ocean. I'm messing everything up. The pasta has finished cooking and I'm gonna pour it and some of the pasta water into this pan with the cheese sauce. Now I'm going to mix it up.
That's what good pussy sounds like.
Delicious. Next up on the list, we'll make some Japchae. I'm butchering that pronunciation, I guarantee. I think it's a Korean noodle made out of sweet potato. It's like a glass noodle. It's clear-ish. It looks delicious. I'm very excited to make. Those are not clear noodles. Okay.
Chunkina.
Oh yeah.
Grasha.
All the vegetables are prepped and now it's time to start cooking. I'm going to first blanch the spinach for 30 seconds to a minute. Now I'm gonna go rinse it in some cold water to stop it from cooking. Right, now that the spinach is done, I'm going to go ahead and add in the noodles. I'm making a lot of these noodles because I'm meal prepping. This is the level and recipe that I think I'm the most excited to try. So I'm just gonna stir this for a minute so they don't stick together. I'm going to cover this and let it cook for another 7 minutes. The noodles have been strained and it says to cut them a few times with kitchen scissors. These are freshly washed kitchen scissors. Now I'm going to set these aside in a large bowl. And I'm also going to add in the spinach as well. I'm also gonna add some sesame oil, soy sauce, and some sugar. And then I'm going to mix this all together. And now it's time to pan fry all of the vegetables. I realize now I was supposed to cut these pieces of beef really thin, kind of like this onion here. Instead I have these really large pieces. It's too late now, but my bad. Now I just have to add the final seasonings and then this is done. Just so you know, I quadrupled this recipe. If it looks like a lot, it's because it is. All right, now I just have to mix it all up. I'm very excited to try this. I garnished it with the little egg as well. It's slippery. This is so good. It is just as delicious as I had hoped. Ooh, Pão de Queijo. For my research is a Brazilian little like bread, and then you put them in little like muffin tins to make them really tiny. Oh yeah, we got our little muffin tins. Oh, uncomfortable. Cheap fridge smell. We don't have the money to upgrade the fridge, Chloe. You just gotta live with what you got, okay? Oh yeah, that looks good. Little cheesy bread balls. So this recipe does say to just throw everything into a blender. So that's what I'm gonna do. So it does say to use 1/3 cup of olive oil, but I don't have any olive oil left. So I'm going to be using vegetable oil, milk, salt, and now the tapioca starch. That is all, I believe. Oh, I can add cheese if I want. I'm gonna blend this first and then think about adding the cheese because it's already kind of full. I love when things are easy. 1/2 cup of just any cheese is what it says. I think Parmesan will go very well with this. And now it says to blend it up again. Now I got my muffin tin and all I gotta do is spray it and then dump in my mixture. Now I just shove it in the oven for 15-ish minutes and then it's done. Oh my God, they're so tall. What is that? That's fun. It's like a little puff ball. Hot. This is the inside. That was very good. It's not like super flavorful, but there wasn't a ton of ingredients and it was super easy to make. Definitely a good one, and I'll probably be making these again. And I feel like this would be delicious for like a little breakfast food. A rice cake.
Hanoi.
Jeez, lady. Pouring it directly into the cake pan, into the oven. The little cake. It has a lot of new ingredients in it that I have not used before, so I'm very excited to try this. I have a cup of water in here with 2 slices of ginger, and I'm gonna let this boil for 10 minutes. So I'm gonna turn off the heat and add in a cup of dark brown sugar, as well as some allspice. And then I'm gonna stir this until the sugar is dissolved. This smells so good. The sugar is melted, so now I'm gonna go ahead and add in 3/4 a cup of cold water, and then also remove the ginger slices. I'm gonna set this aside, and now I have a mixing bowl, and I'm gonna add both of the types of flour to this bowl. I have rice flour made with regular rice, and then I have glutinous rice flour made with glutinous rice. Now I'm going to mix this up and then slowly add in the sugar mixture. So the batter is a little bit thick, but I'm gonna go ahead and add in all the other ingredients and hopefully that smooths it out a little bit. It says it's supposed to have a similar consistency to condensed milk and to add a little bit of water at a time if it's a little too thick. All right, here is the consistency of the batter, much better after I added more water. And I have my little cake pan here. And now it says to garnish with a date. So I have these jujube dates. I'm just gonna garnish with one right in the center, just like it is with the Sims recipe. Please ignore the mess that is over here, but this has to be steamed for an hour. So I have my Instant Pot. All right. I've done something wrong and I'm very upset about it. The recipe said that I could put a toothpick in and it would come out clean and then I would know that it was fully cooked. But it's been in the steamer for twice as much time now and it's still like liquidy. I'm still gonna try it, but it seems to be very underdone. I'm gonna eat off of the edge here because it seems to be a little bit more cooked. It tastes good. It's like jello-y in consistency. Vegetable dumplings. Oh.
Exawa. Denoi.
Oh. Okay. All right. We pour it all out. Oh no! Chloe! Oh my gosh. Really? Wow. Oh God. Oh God. Oh, jeez. Burnt to a crisp. I have some cabbage that I'm wilting by putting a bunch of salt on it, and then I have some shiitake mushrooms. And this is shredded potato. It has severely oxidized. It'll taste the same, okay? I have gone ahead and wrung all the water out of the cabbage. Now I'm gonna start mixing everything into the filling bowl. I am doubling this recipe, so if you're following along, just keep that in mind. I'm going ahead and adding about 4 tablespoons of the potato with the juices. And now I have to chop up all these shiitakes. Tofu, sesame oil, soy sauce, ginger, garlic, pepper, and sugar. And now I'm gonna go ahead and mix everything together. All right, so not only are these thinner, but they're also square. So I'm gonna do my best here. So I have a plate coated with some cornstarch so they don't stick. I'm gonna start by just wetting the corner here and then putting a scoop of the filling in the center. And I'll fold it over, pinch it closed. Here are the finished dumplings. Now I'm gonna go ahead and fry them. That is very good. If it was a dumpling, it would be a little bit softer, but it tastes good regardless. I shouldn't have been scared of the wonton wrappers. We have to make pan de muerto. It's these little like square looking breads that have a cross on them or like an X sort of thing. Mix it up. I never would mix bread with a spoon. Are you kidding me? Oh, it's just going straight on the pan. Okay. We didn't have to knead it at all. Oh, we're actually eating this time. Okay, let's get started. Now, I've never used this before. About 80 grams of margarine, and then 50 grams of sugar, about a teaspoon of salt. Now, I know that The Sims doesn't have stand mixers, but that's what we're using. We're not using the spatula. I'm gonna mix this for 2 minutes. Next, the recipe says to slowly add in the flour and water. And every time I've made bread and every comment I've seen about bread is telling me not to do it this way. But the recipe says to add the yeast in after the flour and the water has been added. And we know there's salt in here, and I've been told that salt will kill the yeast. However, it says to add the active dry yeast after all these other ingredients have been added to the bowl. So I'm going to trust this recipe, and I'm going to put the active dry yeast in after everything else. And now mix it until it is well incorporated. This feels wrong. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add the butter and the rest of the sugar, which is another 50 grams. The final addition to this dough is both orange essence and orange zest. Now, I don't have orange essence, but I saw a suggestion that said I can use some honey. Not very much, like a teaspoon. Now I have to zest 2 oranges. Okay, I don't want to lose any of this orange zest, so I'm gonna go do it over a plate. All right, I have my orange zest here. I'm gonna go ahead and add it. And now mix this together, I guess. We have a little bit of a problem because the dough is like so sticky. If this dough doesn't rise, I'm gonna scream. I know you guys are gonna scream at me too. I'm adding a little bit more flour and that appears to be helping. I wish I could wear my apron now, but as a level 1 chef, I do not have an apron. Okay, this isn't sticky anymore. This is nice. We have our dough ball. I'm gonna go ahead and add it to a greased bowl. I'm gonna cover it, and it's supposed to double in size. All right, so the dough has been rising for about an hour and 15 minutes, and it didn't get as big as I thought it would. It definitely rose a little bit, but not a lot. I'm going to flour my clean work surface. Yes, I cleaned it. So I'm gonna cut about 1/3 of this off and reserve it for the bone decorations later. And then I'm gonna cut the remaining dough into 6 equal pieces. Now I'm going to form these into little balls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I'm gonna take my extra dough and form the bones. I don't really know how much I need. I'm gonna kind of roll it out to kind of look like a femur bone, I think is what it is. And then I have an egg wash here, and I'm going to put that on the top of the bun. Now I'm gonna lay my bones across the bread, like so. And then I'm going to brush with a little bit more egg wash because I have to add a little circle in the middle. And now I have to do that to the other 6 buns. Here is my pan de muertos. Now I have to cover it one more time and let it rise for like 2 more hours until it's doubled in size again. So I got back home from the gym and the power is out because there's a storm and I can't bake my bread. So I don't know what's gonna happen because the power is not set to come back on for like 4 more hours. I really hope it's sooner than that because I don't know what's gonna happen to the bread. It's probably gonna dry out. We're gonna keep it covered and hope for the best. This is what it looks like now. I truly am a sim living on a cursed lot right now. The power is back. These have been rising for like 5 hours at this point. I hope that they're still okay. They still seem nice and moist. I added some salt to my egg mixture, and now I'm going to go ahead and put one last coat of egg wash on here. I'm gonna pop these in the oven, and then we'll see how they turn out. The pan de muerto is done. I'm gonna give it a little try. It looks like it turned out really good, not gonna lie. It tastes like oranges. Yipsy banakatoo! Hey, did I say you could read? No, that's not our hobby. Cooking is our hobby. Now we've got to cook like 5 bajillion cakes. First, we're gonna start with the classic vanilla cupcakes.
Free bafroom.
And there we go. The cupcakes. Beautiful vanilla cupcakes. Now, because my cooking skill is still only level 1, You know we gotta use box cake. I just have to mix everything together and then beat vigorously by hand for 2 minutes. Now I'm going to use this white cake mix to make both the cupcakes and the white cake. So first I'm going to start with the cupcakes. Now I have the mix here and I think you fill it up like 3/4 the way full. And now I'm going to set this aside and work on the cake. We're making the cake. We are pouring the batter directly into the oven because that's how you bake cakes. And it comes out fully iced. I'm actually gonna make quite a little cake because I don't have 2 matching cake pan tins and it looks like the cake's pretty tall. So I wanna make it look as close as possible. It just might not be the size of the white cake that is pictured in The Sims. But I have these pre-greased pans here and there's some parchment paper at the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and fill them as well. Okay, so I have the cupcakes and the cake ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and put them in the oven and then we'll get to decorating. Ah, there we go. Beautifully iced. Tastes like boxed cake and pre-made icing. I have my cakes here. My plan is to stack these 2 on top of each other, but first I have to level them out. Now we're gonna move on to the icing. So I'm gonna first put a little bit here so they can stick together. I'm also gonna put a little bit underneath the cake so it doesn't slip around as much. I don't know if I'm gonna do this right, but I'm gonna do the crumb coat or the coat that goes all the way around it. That doesn't look too bad. Except for that fatality right there. Oops. For my plethora of cake decorating knowledge, I have to put this into the refrigerator for like 30 minutes. So this has been in the fridge for about a half hour. Now it's time for the second coating of icing. Let me smooth it out now. I need to transfer this to a plate so I can put on the final touches. So there is an entire swirly across the bottom and the top. That kind of looks like it. But we have one more thing to add. We have to add some rainbow sprinkles. I think that looks so cute. It looks just like the Sims cake. I'm actually not gonna try the cake because I wanna give it to a friend as a gift. So yeah, it tastes the same as the cupcakes. What can I say? Next up on the cake bake, we're doing chocolate cake. Whoa, whoa, whoa! This feels very inefficient. The last level 1 recipe. I spent more money on The Sims. I got the digital deluxe upgrade because I needed that to be able to have the hamburger cake. Oh, it looks like the chocolate cake.
Huh.
And the hamburger cake, woo! Look at it. I wonder if it tastes like cake or tastes like hamburger. I have 2 white cakes here. I made them in the same pans as the previous cakes. And then I have some chocolate cake here for the burger. So I need this one to be pretty flat. Here we are, the bottom bun. And I will set this cake in this plastic bag and I will eat it later. Now we have the burger. I'm gonna take this little circle piece that was under the white cake and I'm going to cut a circle out of this chocolate cake. Now I just have to separate it from the pan. That is a thick burger. Oh my goodness. That looks like a burger to me. Now for the fun part, because we have the lettuce and the cheese. So I have a bunch of different colors of fondant. I'm gonna start with the yellow fondant. I will say, this feels rock hard in the package. I don't know if that's gonna be a problem. Okay, it's getting a little bit softer as I work with it. All right, let's roll this out. Now I'm just going to cut it as best I can into a square. And I'm going to place it onto my burger. Now moving on to the lettuce. This color is labeled as lime. Perhaps it will be a little bit of a scary green. We will see. Oh boy. It's not as rock hard as the yellow. My plan is to just roll this out thinly. Now I'm just gonna cut out like some squiggles. Now I'm going to lay this splattery looking lettuce on top of my burger. Now I have to add the top bun. I think I'm gonna keep this domed top here because that's kind of what the burger bun looks like, but I am going to thin it out a little bit. I'm just now realizing I could have only made one of these and used the bottom as the bottom bun and the top as the top bun. It's too late now. The Krabby Patty! Look at that. Oh, it's so ugly. Minus the neon green lettuce, kind of feels like I'm holding a hamburger. It's a little weird that it doesn't have any icing on it, but I wanted to be able to hold it like a hamburger, and coating it in icing would not allow me to do that. But the fondant doesn't taste as bad when it's sandwiched between cake. So there is a plus there. It was fun to eat as well. With that recipe, I've officially leveled up to... First up on the list, we're making BLT. Unknown caller. Hanging up. All right, am I just gonna magically turn it into a sandwich? Hell yeah. So we're moving on to cooking skill level 2, and I did celebrate a little bit by going into my creative sim and changing my hair. What can I say?
Hi.
Stop. This recipe does have a side of fries, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the fries and the bacon both into the oven. This is a very tall sandwich. I over toasted the bread a bit, but other than that, with the Kewpie mayo especially, it is absolutely delicious. Definitely a good level 2 recipe to start with. Brigadeiro. The origin of the dessert is not certain. Why is it red? I thought it was chocolate.
No.
That was cocoa powder and condensed milk, not tomato sauce. Oh yeah. Oh. Were those tomatoes? What am I making? Okay, now it's brown. Why did I cook it first and then put it in the bowl? Oh, salt and pepper. Now we're pouring it out and suddenly it's a cake ball. Next up is Brigadeiro, which is a classic Brazilian treat that is similar to a chocolate truffle. So I have a little saucepan over medium heat, and I'm going to go ahead and add the condensed milk, cocoa powder, as well as some butter. And now I'm going to heat this up over medium heat for around 10 minutes. So now that this is cooled, it is time to assemble. Here I have some chocolate sprinkles. So I'm taking about this much, rolling it into a ball, and then rolling it in the chocolate sprinkles. That's my bite mark right there. It's very sweet, but it's not like overly sweet. You know, like when you eat something overly sweet, your mouth like waters really weird and feels weird. This is like just on the verge of that. I really like it. Time to make some chips and salsa. Oh, bro. Can we not be weird? Oh my God. Next up, we're moving on to scrambled eggs with bacon. And this recipe is a little strange because the recipe in The Sims requires not just eggs, but also tomatoes. I don't know about you, but I don't think I've ever made scrambled eggs with tomatoes before. Maybe an omelet, but not scrambled eggs. I'm gonna start by preparing scrambled eggs like I normally do, which is eggs, milk, and salt and pepper. And then I'm going to go ahead and whisk this up. I do have bacon left over from the BLT, so I'm just gonna use that. And then, of course, some toast. I mean, it's interesting that they chose tomato as the additional ingredient in scrambled eggs, but I'm not mad about it. Pretty good. And the bacon is obviously delicious. High energy protein plate is next. So this is our first recipe. We're having a buff is required. And in this case, it is an energy buff. Now you can get this through like paintings or like working out or like careers sometimes. But I just cheated. I used MC Command Center and I gave myself the buff. We're not doing anything today except for cooking. There's also potions that give you certain buffs as well. Okay, no, that's an on-purpose fire. That was an on-purpose fire. That was a flambe. Perfect. Ooh! Ooh, look at that. Asparagus, eggs, and regular meat. So I have all my ingredients here for the high energy protein plate, and in the spirit of needing the energized emotion, I have a energy drink. So essentially my plan here is to make a meatloaf. I'm gonna start by sauteing an entire yellow onion that I just chopped up. And I have a mixing bowl here where I'm gonna actually make my loaf of meat. 3 garlic cloves, 2 eggs. I will link the original recipe that I'm using. I'll also say the amounts of everything else that I'm using since I am changing it quite a bit. 1 tablespoon of ketchup, a half a teaspoon of salt, a couple grinds of black pepper, a little bit of dried basil, oregano, about 1/8 of a teaspoon, and about 1/8 of a teaspoon of fennel. And now I have some MSG. I'm gonna add about 1/8 of a teaspoon as well of that. 1/6 of a cup of milk, and then a half a cup of panko breadcrumbs. And now I'm going to go ahead and add about half of these onions. Now I'm going to mix it all together. All right, now I'm going to form it into a loaf shape. That looks pretty good. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and add the meatloaf to the oven for probably about 20 minutes while I prepare the glaze. Ketchup, rice vinegar. You can also use white vinegar, onion powder, garlic granules. And then I'm also going to add 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. And I'm gonna go ahead and whisk this together. It's time to prepare the sides. So I have some asparagus here that I'm going to saute. And I'm also going to hard boil some eggs. All right, so the meatloaf has been in the oven for about 30 minutes. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add the glaze on top. Now I'm going to return this to the oven until the internal temperature of the meatloaf is 160. Now I bet you're like, Chloe, what about the faux meat protein plate? Don't worry, I got you. Now I'm going to be making a vegetarian version of the high energy protein plate, and I know some individuals don't consider eggs as vegetarian, but since there are eggs on the Sims recipe, I will be including eggs in this recipe. Now I'm going to be doing pretty much the same recipe as the real meatloaf, just subbing in the impossible meat. I'm also gonna coat the faux meatloaf with the same glaze and return that back to the oven. First up here, I have the regular high energy protein plate. This is so good. Delicious. Now I'm not sure if a meatloaf is what The Sims was getting at with this recipe, but I thought it was the easiest way to replicate with a faux meat protein plate. I think because there's so many like spices and toppings going on that the flavors are just so similar. The only real difference I think is the texture. It's a little bit more crumbly. But other than that, it's pretty much exactly the same. And I'll say it's still good. Where's my... There it is! I freaking love Korean food. What is asparagus?
Nom nom.
Surely there's not asparagus in rice cake soup. Now there's meat. Looks a little bit more like a soup now. Ooh, look at that. All right, sliced rice cake soup, traditional Korean dish eaten during the celebration of the Korean New Year. I forgot to record, but I added the rice cakes and then also this fish sauce. This fish sauce kind of sucks. I like Red Boat instead. So I have my Tteokguk here, rice cake soup. I'm sorry if I pronounced that horribly. The broth is very light, and I just absolutely love rice cakes in anything, so I'm a huge fan of this. I think it's so cool that The Sims has so many recipes that I have never heard of before, and this is one of those where I'm like, I'm so happy I've been introduced to it. It's very good, and I'll probably be making this again. It is time for the first bread recipe. I have a little bit more of an appreciation for making bread after the Animal Crossing video, but now we will be making the braided bread challah. To my stand mixer, I'm going to add the flour, the yeast, and the salt. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix this. And then to a separate bowl here, I'm going to add 2 eggs, as well as an egg yolk, 3/4 a cup of water, vegetable oil, honey, and I'm gonna go ahead and whisk this together. Now I'm going to add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients and knead this on speed 2 for around 5 to 7 minutes. Now that the dough is finished mixing, I'm going to form it into a smooth ball and then place it into a lightly greased bowl. Now I'm going to cover this and let it rise until it's doubled in size, which will be about 2 hours. All right, it's been 2 hours and the dough has definitely risen. And now I just have to braid the bread. So I'm gonna start by dividing it up into 4 equal pieces. And now I'm going to roll these out until they are about 20 inches long. And now that I have these in tube form, it's time to braid the bread. Over, under, over, over, under, over, over, under, over. I don't know if I did that right, but it looks cool. Now I'm going to put this on a tray and let it rise again for another 1.5 to 2 hours. I have an egg wash here because the bread has risen and it is gigantic. And it's gonna rise more in the oven apparently. Oh boy, it is time for this to go into the oven. Look at how huge this thing got. You do not understand just how excited I am to try this. Oh yeah. A little cross section there, you can see the steam. It's not quite as like airy as I expected, but it's definitely the fluffiest bread I have ever made. And it is really good. Chef's kiss. All right, fish tacos. Let's do it. $72. My money! I'm gonna have to like sell my shit to be able to, actually, well. You didn't see anything. Ooh, fishy fish. And then we pour it out and suddenly it's a taco. That's how it works. The Sims recipe does say any fish, so I have some tilapia here. And then I have a spice mixture here of cayenne, cumin, salt, and pepper. I'm gonna go ahead and coat both sides of the fish with that. I'm also going to drizzle the tops of these with some olive oil and then also add a little bit of butter to the top of each of them. And now these are going to go into the oven for about 20 minutes. While that finishes baking, I'm gonna go ahead and make the taco sauce. Mayo, sour cream, lime juice, garlic powder, and sriracha. I have all of the ingredients here, and now I'm gonna go ahead and assemble my tacos. I'm going with a hard shell because that's what it looks like they're using in The Sims. I'm gonna get some of this fish, some tomato, and cilantro. And then on top, I'm gonna add some cotija cheese, as well as some of the homemade taco sauce. It looks very delicious, and I'm very excited to try it. That is so good. And the taco sauce is delicious.
Carrot cake cupcakes!
Yep, we're being crazy with the sauces. And then we're just pouring it directly into the oven. They come out perfectly iced. Oh, there's little carrots on top. Look at those, so cute. Now, the only flour I have left in my pantry is this bread flour, so I'm going to use that. I hope it doesn't affect the texture too much, but we will see. I'm also gonna add some leftover chocolate chips that I have, just for funsies. Yikes. Oh my God, why? 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 Ah! Directly into the center of the cupcake you go. These cupcake liners kind of suck. This is getting everywhere. These are done. Now I have the angry emotion. Don't get these, I'm sorry. To anybody that likes these, I hate them. All right, bye-bye. I'm gonna bake these. These are out of the oven, and now it is time to decorate. So I have some cream cheese frosting. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on first. And then here I have mixed up some orange and green as well, and I'm gonna use that to make the little carrot decor that's on the top. I have the little cupcakes here. I think they turned out so cute. The little carrots are just adorable. I realized after I put the icing on that it's cream cheese artificially flavored icing, so I'm a little disappointed there. Other than the absolute chaos that was these cupcake liners, I think this was a pretty good recipe. We're moving on to our first level 3. Chocolate chip cookies. But this time, I don't have to do it in under 3 minutes. If you know what I'm talking about, you're a real one. The cookies are fresh out of the oven. Let's give it a taste. I did accidentally leave them in the oven for a little bit long, so they're a little more done than I like, but they're delicious. Zaatar Manakeesh. Enjoyed as a snack or appetizer, it's comprised of flatbread topped with olive oil and za'atar, a mixture of herbs, spices, sesame seeds, and sometimes includes white cheese. Yum! And now I'm gonna put this in the oven for around 10 minutes. Other than the dough being extremely weird looking, it does smell delicious. My body is not used to this condensed amount of spice, so we will see if I get a little tummy ache, but it was worth it. This is delicious. Pancakes. I love pancakes, yes I do. I love pancakes, how about you? Oh, we got a new animation! Woohoo! Woo! We're flambeing our pancakes like we do every day. I always flambe my pancakes personally. For this recipe, I'll be using these power cakes. And oh, you just wait. The silly gummy bear pancakes are coming up next. Pat of butter. And this is my syrup of choice. Good buttermilk pancakes. But I know what you're really interested in is the silly gummy bear pancakes. In order to make these, I need to have the playful emotion. A couple ways that you can get this emotion in The Sims is taking a bubble bath, making silly faces in the mirror, telling jokes. However, I used MC Command Center to cheat the emotion, so I'm gonna cheat the emotion on myself right now. Challah, do some magic. So I'm going to start by adding my stack of pancakes. This one is a little bit burnt. Please ignore that. And of course, a little pat of butter. But here's where it gets interesting. Of course, they're gummy bear pancakes. So I have to have gummy bears. Oh my God, they smell delicious. And now the syrup, I'm convinced, is not just a regular maple syrup. To me, it looks a little bit more red, potentially like a strawberry syrup. I was hoping that I could find a more like natural one, but this is the only one I could find. Kind of looks, ooh, that looks a lot like cough syrup. Okay, this looks a little bit like a murder scene.
Bruh.
Oh my God, you're kidding me. It doesn't taste bad, but it tastes like something that I wouldn't eat again. The strawberry sauce also is not very good. It tastes very, very artificial. We're gonna move on to the next recipe. I'm gonna do a little Create a Sim outfit change. Hallacas is next. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, I'm excited to make this in real life. Now this is a Venezuelan dish that is a dough and meat filling inside of banana leaves. And the recipe that I picked out makes everything from scratch. We're starting by making the broth or caldo. Now for the meat, it says to add beef, pork, and chicken. However, I only have pork and chicken, so that's what I'll be adding. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be adding whole pieces of meat, not minced meat. It'll be fine. So I've removed the vegetables and added the meat back to the pot with the broth. And now I'm gonna go over here and start sauteing some additional vegetables. Achiote oil that I'm going to add to the pan. I made this oil with these seeds. 1 chopped onion, 2 leeks and 1 green onion, garlic, 1 bell pepper, and 4 sweet peppers. Okay, this is sweet red wine. I'm adding 1/2 of a cup to this bowl, as well as 3/16 of a cup of this harina pan. I'm mixing that up. So the vegetables are done sauteing. I'm gonna go ahead and add them to the meat, some chopped capers. And now I'm gonna go ahead and add in the wine and harina pan mixture. All right, so I have a bunch of the reserved broth here that I took out of the meat, and now I am going to make the dough. I'm not exactly sure the consistency, but this feels a bit too doughy. So I'm gonna just continue to add more broth. I also have chicken broth. All right, this looks pretty good. So now it is time to assemble. I did a little practice one. So I'm starting with the main leaf, adding the dough. Now I'm adding the guiso, which is that meat filling. Then bringing this end to end and pinching the dough closed, folding over the edges as well, pinching the dough as I do so, taking the middle leaf, folding it diagonally like so, and then taking the third leaf, or the faja, I think is how it's pronounced, and wrapping it. Voila. Now I'm taking my cooking twine and wrapping it kind of like a present in a 3x3 grid to keep all these leaves together. And now I just have to do that 6 more times.
Many hours later.
If there ever was a recipe that did not belong in the tier 3 cooking skill in The Sims 4, it is this one. This took me several hours of cooking to complete, and the amount of skill required for wrapping these alone should have been at least a level 5. Let's give it a try. First I have to figure out how to get it open. I guess I can just do this. Ooh, I'm not sure how to eat this. I'm assuming a fork is okay. Look at that cross section. That is really good. And they said it also would be really good with some hot sauce, so I can imagine a lot of toppings would be absolutely delicious with this. Oh yeah, we got some pan-fried tilapia straight into the non-stick pan. Beautiful pan-fried tilapia. Now, I fear that this plate does look a little bit plain, and that is because I forgot to get a lemon. I have this. Delicious recipe. And now we gotta cook, oh yeah, the Flirty heart cookies, which you have to have the flirty emotion to make. You can see I'm flirty by the way that I'm biting my fingernail. Yes, we pour it out on a pan. Yeah! And there's jelly on them already. Or no, they're little, are those little strawberries? Or is it jelly? I can't tell. Moving on to the Flirty heart cookies. I do think I gained the Flirty buff by 3D printing some really cute little heart cookie cutters. To my mixing bowl, I'm going to add a cup of softened butter, aka butter that I stuck in the microwave for 1 minute. I know some bakers are cringing at me right now, but I did not want to wait for it to soften on its own. So I'm gonna start by creaming the butter, sugars, and cinnamon together. Vanilla. Now in a separate bowl here, I'm going to whisk together all the dry ingredients. I'm gonna put this in the fridge for about 30 minutes. So this has been chilling in the fridge. Now I'm going to roll it out to about 1/8 of an inch thick. Uh-oh, why is it so crumbly? There we go. It's a little bit better now that I have flattened it slightly. So I have them all cut out. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put them in the oven. I have my Flirty Heart cookies, probably the most aesthetically pleasing cookies that I have ever made in my whole life. That jelly is so good. Kind of like a sugar cookie sort of feel. I think these would be a good thing to make during Valentine's Day. Galbi-jjim. I'm gonna start by soaking my beef ribs in water because apparently if I don't do that first, the final result will have an off smell. Now we're gonna move on to the braising liquid. So I soaked some dried shiitakes and this is the leftover mushroom water. I'm adding 2 cups. Soy sauce, mirin, black pepper, garlic, ginger, and sugar. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix that all together. So I have some boiling water here and I'm going to blanch the beef ribs for 5 minutes. Adding back in my braising liquid and let it cook for like 20 minutes. Here I have my veggies. It's daikon, carrots, and shiitake mushrooms. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add it to the pot. And then I'm gonna turn the heat down to low, cover, and cook this for about an hour. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in pitted jujube dates, as well as some corn syrup. Ideally, this would be rice syrup. I'm gonna give it a good stir and then cover and cook for another about 10 minutes. I'm so ready to try this. Vegetables, delicious. Now I'm gonna try the meat. So tender, and it's slightly sweet, which is what I really love about it. This is very good. Hello friends, and welcome to level 4 of the cooking skill, where we now can cook things like pre-prepared spaghetti and pre-made pasta sauce. I'm just not that big of a fan of red sauce, but the noodles are delicious, I will say. However, I think I know what you're waiting for. The angry flaming spaghetti.
Oh, you bara. Oh, neeb snoosh. Gah!
Oh my god, I didn't think it'd actually be on fire. I thought it was like spicy.
Oh.
I can't wait to have to eat this myself. Now, I need to get the angry buff to be able to make this. And I will say, I am a little bit angry. I had an IKEA order and it got stolen. I have Hot Ones, the last dab. Okay, that is 6 drops. I think that's sufficient. I'm gonna mix it in a little bit. Immediately.
Oh my god.
There it is. I'm very excited to make this one in real life. It sounds yummy. Knafeh is made with shredded phyllo dough. Is that how you say that? Which I'm very excited to try because this is, I believe, the dough that is in Dubai chocolate. I can't have Dubai chocolate because it has pistachios and I'm very allergic to pistachios. But now that I'm making my own dish, I get to try it. And it does say that it's supposed to be topped with pistachios, but obviously can't have those. So I'm gonna top it with matcha instead. So I have a mixing bowl here and I'm gonna go ahead and add my dough. Now I'm adding some ghee that has been mixed with red food coloring. It did say specifically to use Knafeh food coloring. However, I figured red would work just as good. And then I have gloves on because I have to knead this into the dough. Slowly but surely, it's getting incorporated. Now it is time to prepare the baking pan. 3/4 of the dough. I decided to go with ricotta for my sweet cheese. I'm gonna go ahead and spread that around a bit Now I'm adding a pound of mozzarella to the top of the ricotta. Pressing that down and then topping with the rest of the dough. Oh my God, that looks so good. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the oven for about 20 minutes. Now while it's baking, it's time to make the rose water syrup. 1.5 cups of rose water tea that I've made. 1.5 cups of sugar. And now I'm just going to cook this until the sugar dissolves. This is basically a simple syrup, but rose water flavored. I'm going to add the syrup like this. Now that this has had some time to soak, I'm going to try to transfer it. Technically, I'm supposed to flip it over. I think it's just gonna have to stay on the pan because I feel like it's just going to fall apart if I do that. I'm gonna top it with a little bit of matcha. My matcha is a kind of old, so it's not as vibrant as I would prefer. And then I'm also gonna add a few of the rose petals from the tea that I made, just for aesthetics. I'm going to attempt to slice a piece and put it onto this plate. I might not have packed it densely enough. Oh my God. Oh my God, so good. It's like sweet cheese and it's got like this crunch to it, and the rose water is so good. Matzo ball soup. We got everything in a bowl, as is the routine. Yep. We're putting, it's turning red, right? It's gonna be red. Yum. Why is this one so detailed? So here I have some chopped veggies. I have carrots, celery, and onions. And I'm gonna go ahead and saute them in a large pot with some olive oil. And I'm also gonna add some minced garlic. Now I'm adding in the broth. I'm also adding some dill and some pepper. And this recipe does normally call for chicken breast in here as well. However, I do not have any, so we're just going to leave that out. While this is simmering, it's time to make the matzo ball mix. So I have 3 eggs in a mixing bowl here. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil, salt, baking powder. Now this recipe specifically said to use matzo meal, not matzo mix. So I got matzo mix. There's a reason for it though. The reason is because I could not find matzo meal. This was my only option. Stirring this until well combined. Finally, I'm adding 3 tablespoons of water. Now this is going to go sit in the fridge for 30 minutes so it can absorb. So the soup has been simmering and the matzo meal has been in the fridge. Now I just need to form the matzo meal into roughly ping pong ball sized spheres and then drop them in. All the dough is in there and now I'm going to cover it and let it simmer for like 20 more minutes. My matzo balls did fall apart a little bit, probably because I used mix. It's hot. Compared to things I've eaten before, it's like a better chicken soup. It is very good. I love the matzo balls. Minced pork noodles are up next. I know these are gonna be good. So I have my minced pork noodle here, and although it looks great, I'm not entirely convinced that I did it correctly, but let's give it a taste. The anchovies are pretty salty. I'm glad that I took out a lot of them, and the pork is delicious. Another cake. I'm sure it's gonna be exactly the same. And it's white. Oh yeah. Okay, well, then we put it in here, and suddenly, it's just cake shaped. The Dolly Parton icing does not taste good. It has a very strange artificial taste to it that is not strawberry, and it doesn't taste like strawberry candy either. Other than that, great way to end level 4. And with that, it's time to level up. Strawberry fizzy cupcakes. Why are they fizzy? I'd be a little concerned if my cupcakes were carbonated. Whoa, my legs are hairy. Something mysterious on the top. Well, we have the strawberry cupcakes. I assume it has strawberry icing on top, but where is the fizzy? I was like, oh, maybe Pop Rocks. But Pop Rocks just didn't seem quite right. But then I had an idea. My brain gained a wrinkle, if you will. But first, let me tell you a little story. You know how Cracker Barrel has that little section before you go get your very mediocre food? You have like old-timey candies, cool doodads, stuff to look at. Well, let me introduce to you one of my favorite candies that I ever got from Cracker Barrel. Zaatar, a fizzy power candy. Now, if you've never had Zaatar before, they're basically a hard candy with powder on the inside that once it hits your tongue, it fizzes. I'm going to ice these first with the really bad Dolly Parton icing. So here's the little candy. Oh my God, I'm a genius. I'm gonna add a whole candy to the top as well. Kind of looks like it has that on the Sims recipe. The color of these is what I would describe as
radioactive.
The Zaatar kind of masks the flavor of the icing in a good way. I just don't know how I feel about hard candy on top of cake. They look really nice. The taste, interesting, borderline good, but mostly interesting. Frenchy French toasty toast. All right, we got bread directly into the pan. Oh, we're throwing some spices on our French toast. Doesn't look like cinnamon, looked like pepper. All right, there it is. The beauty. Ooh, yeah. Now I'm moving on to a Brazilian street food called Acarajé. We're just chopping. Oh, we got shrimp. Into a pan it goes. A new animation. Wow, that looks good. Stuffed fritter made out of dough. I will be using canned black-eyed peas. I know it's not the traditional way, but I want to save some time, okay? I'm going to start by sauteing up some onions that I thinly sliced. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the shrimp, seasoned with some salt and pepper. And then I'm going to set this aside. Hello and welcome to the food processor that I barely know how to use. I have the 2 cans of black-eyed peas in here. And then I also have a roughly chopped onion and about 2 cloves of garlic that I have to somehow also fit in here. I feel like there is a better solution to this where I use this bigger bowl here somehow, but I'm not sure how to do that. And now it says to add in flour. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to add it in to the food processor, so I'm gonna just add it into the food processor. Salt, and then also some ground black pepper. So as you can see, this is pretty liquidy still, and the consistency needs to be able to hold the shape of a ball. So I think I'm gonna have to add quite a bit more flour. Here's my final mixture that I'm going to attempt to fry. I probably added about 1.5 cups of flour to this. All right, let's go fry these. Oh boy, might be a little bit large. I think all the future ones I cook, I'm gonna make a bit smaller. Because I had to add more flour, I think the dough balls are a bit more glutinous than they should have been. But other than that, the flavors are so good. Fish and chips, and there it is. As you can see, I now have an apron because I've leveled up. Now, it looks like it's only served with ketchup, so that's what I added to the plate. I like how thick the batter is. The Oktoberfest was a good choice. For an exclusive extended version of this video where I will be including more gameplay, check out our YouTube and Patreon memberships. Chili. Ooh, I love chili. I'm basically just going to add all the ingredients to the Instant Pot and then let it cook. Delicious. Here, you have a bite. Baked chocolate mousse is up next. That's cute. It's got a little whipped cream on top. like a really fluffy brownie. It's very airy. It's different than anything I've had before, I feel like, but it's very good. Blue confetti cake. Wow, it's blue with rainbow sprinkles. Next up, we have red velvet cupcakes. Probably my favorite of all the cakes so far. It's not bad. I will say I think I'm getting a little bit better at the icing. Speaking of icing, the red velvet cupcakes with a glob on the top because it was a little bit cold to spread. I'm very excited to have like actual cream cheese frosting this time. I'm very happy with that. 2 thumbs up, 1 for each. Butter chicken! I love butter chicken! This is new! Ooh! Oh. Huh. Oh. Why are there green peas in the butter chicken? For the butter chicken, I am going to be using chicken thighs. If you've never had butter chicken before, it is a delicious Indian recipe that has marinated chicken that is then cooked in this delicious sauce and usually served with either naan or rice. Now we're beginning the first marination. Lemon juice, Kashmiri chili powder. I'm going to give that a good mix. 20 minutes is up. Now it's time for the second marination. Greek yogurt, ginger, some turmeric, some garam masala, cumin. We have kasuri methi, I hope I'm saying that right, or dried fenugreek leaves, and then some neutral oil. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix this all up. Now, while this is marinating, I'm going to start on the sauce, which the first step is to make a tomato puree. These are tomatoes that I picked from my garden. I'm not sure if green versus red would be more ideal, but this is what we're working with. And to my tomato bowl, I'm also going to add a whole sauteed onion. And then this also does call for cashews. However, I am allergic to cashews, so I'm going to be using heavy cream instead. I accidentally got plant cream, so we're gonna try this out. Here I have 6 tablespoons of melted butter, and I'm going to add 8 whole cloves, 2 cinnamon sticks, and 8 green cardamoms. Now, people in the comments are telling me that I should be shucking these, like pulling the seeds out first. I don't know about that, so they're just going straight in the butter. All right, this is sizzling, so now I'm gonna add some ginger paste. Oh my God. We sizzled too close to the sun. All right, in my panic, I added way too much ginger, but we're gonna ignore that and add some minced garlic. Oh, you know what I could do though? I could scoop some of it out. Huh, using my level 6 brain there. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and add in the spices. And finally, I'm going to add in my puree. Now I'm gonna heat this up over medium heat and cover it partially until it thickens. While the sauce is cooking over here, I'm gonna go ahead and start cooking the chicken. All right, so I took all the spices out, and now I'm going to add in the chicken. So good. A little time consuming, but very good. Palak Paneer, a flavorful dish made with paneer, pureed spinach, and spices. And it's made the exact same way as the chili. Oh no! My stove broke. Ooh, Palak Paneer, yum! Oil to a pan. Butter in a pan here. Cinnamon, green cardamom, and cloves. Now I'm also adding in 1 whole onion. Now I'm adding some tomatoes, which I have pureed in a blender. And while this finishes cooking, I'm going to puree this spinach. I'm actually going to transfer it to this pot instead, because this one's a little bit bigger. And now I'm also going to add in some paneer. I've never had paneer before, but it is described in the recipe as Indian cottage cheese. I gotta top it with a little bit more plant cream. The final level 6 recipe, we have Palak Paneer. I will say, the paneer doesn't really taste like much at all. It does taste absolutely delicious. This is worthy of a level up. A level 7 recipe is an omelet? I think this is gonna have to be an omu rice omelet. Omu rice is a Japanese dish that has an incredibly fluffy and delicious omelet placed on top of like typically a ketchup rice. I will just be making the omelet portion of this. Now I'm going to whisk this together. I want this to be as smooth as possible, so I'm gonna put it through a fine mesh strainer. And the reason I'm using a gas stove is because it is easier to get a even and quick heat on the pan. And you'll know the pan is hot enough when you can run your chopsticks across and the egg cooks pretty quickly. And start whisking. Might not add all the egg because this is quite a bit. That's probably good. I'm looking for it to start turning into a very soft scramble. And I prefer chopsticks for this because it breaks up the egg in a way that I feel is more fine, and it has a better result at the end than if I were to use like a spatula. And when the egg is getting just to the point where it starts to firm up completely, I'm going to leave it here and cook the bottom for a good like 10-ish seconds. Now I'm going to roll it very slightly, about this far, and then pick up the other side and roll that side as well, trying not to break it. There we go. And now I'm going to seal the edge. Wasn't the most perfect omu rice omelet, but it's good enough. This is an omu rice omelet minus the rice. I will be adding instead some mushrooms that I just sauteed in a little bit of olive oil. Let's cut it open and see how it looks. Should just kind of have a really nice textured inside that isn't overcooked. Oh yeah. Not my best work, but I will say that looks pretty good. This way of making omelets is by far my favorite. I love the silkiness and the creamy texture. If you have the chance to learn how to make an omelet like this, I would highly suggest it because you'll never go back. Boiling frog hot pot. Ooh, oh, frog legs are so good. Oh, I love frog legs. I cannot wait to make this in real life. I have never personally had hot pot before. I had to look up how it works, and to me it sounds like you boil the soup base and then you have a bunch of vegetables, proteins, sometimes carbs as well, and you put those ingredients into the soup base, let it cook, take it out, and then you have sort of like a dipping sauce or seasonings to finish it off. I can definitely taste the residual broth. I may have overcooked the frog a little bit. I will say, if you have a soup base, it is incredibly easy to do a hot pot because I didn't have to really prep much except for the ingredients that go into the hot pot. I think you're supposed to do hot pot with friends and family, so thank you for joining me on my experience of having hot pot for the first time. Now we are moving on to mud carp. I'm going to the local Asian grocery store to look for these fish. Huh? That looks like you're making salmon. Why does that look like salmon? And we're flambeing. I will not be doing this, by the way. I will not be flambeing my fish. All right, what's on top? I wasn't able to find any carp, so instead I have some tilapia fillets. I'm not really sure what's on top of the fish, so I'm guessing it's sliced veggies, olive oil, salt. Now I'm just going to drape the veggies over top of the fish. I'm not sure if this is how it's meant to be, but it kind of looks like they just did little stripes of vegetables. All right, so I have my mud carp, AKA tilapia, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this into the oven. I'm a good cook. I mean, I just kind of made up this recipe with what I had in the fridge, and it turned out pretty good. Steamed fish is next. Any fish. All right. Oh, directly into the pan on the counter. That's new. That looks good, that ball of rice. So for this dish, we're gonna be doing a Cantonese steamed fish recipe. This recipe calls for a delicate fish, which I don't know what that means. I have some cod. I know tilapia is a pretty good delicate fish, but I've used tilapia so many times, I wanna use cod for this. So now I'm gonna let it steam for about 7 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and start on the sauce. A little bit of vegetable oil, ginger, onion, soy sauce, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of sugar, cilantro, and a little bit of water. And here we have our sauce. The sauce smells amazing. I'm very excited to try it. The fish itself had nothing special really, so the sauce is really gonna be carrying it. Not gonna lie, it probably would have been a little bit better with tilapia, but I had just been using so much tilapia in these fish dishes that I had to switch it up a little bit. It's still very good. The sauce is amazing and it was so easy to make. I will be eating all of this. And now we gotta make super chocolate Tummersbaum cupcakes. What is a super chocolate Tummersbaum cupcake, you may ask? I do not know. However, my idea is to make it as chocolatey as possible. Half a cup of water, a half a cup of oil, 1 egg, a brownie mix, then a syrup pouch. It does appear that there is already chocolate chips in this. However, these are super chocolate Tummersbaum cupcakes. So we're adding more chocolate chips. That is a lot of chocolate. There is the batter. Now it is time to cupcakeify it. Now I'm gonna add some of this milk chocolate icing. And then finally I'm going to garnish the top with some bittersweet chocolate chips. These are probably the most chocolatey monstrosities I have ever made. Cupcake liner is a little bit stuck. Well, it pretty much just tastes like a chocolate brownie with chocolate icing. I know, surprise, surprise. This probably will make my Tummers bomb. Let's make blackened bass. What's that look like? Okay, same animation. Oh, we went from cutting up fish to spinning something in a bowl. And now we're putting in the bowl into the pan and it's fish again. There it is, the blackened bass. Drew is gonna be helping me with this recipe because I don't wanna touch the fish.
Hi, I'm filleting the fish.
I know the Sims recipe is using whole fish, however, this is just gonna be a lot easier to cook and we'll be able to make it more evenly done this way. We have the grill here and the secret to blackening is a very hot cast iron. Not really sure where to bite. That's so crispy. I'm sorry it's not actual bass. Instead we have tilapia, but it's very good. Our first level 8 is apple pie. We're needing, okay, it's the pie dough. And it's a pie. Yeah, that's a nice looking pie. All right, put it away. I have 8 apples with me and one of them is poisonous. I bet you can't guess which one. Let's get started. So first, of course, we have to peel and core and slice the apples. Someone in the comments suggested keeping potatoes submerged in water to keep them from oxidizing. So I'm gonna try it with the apples and see how it goes. Now I'm preparing the sauce that goes on top of the apples. So I'm melting a stick of butter, 3 tablespoons of flour, a half a cup of granulated sugar, and a half a cup of brown sugar. And then finally, some water. Now I'm going to cut the other piece of pie dough into strips for the lattice. Now I'm going to attempt to fit as many apples as I can in this crust. It looks like the water worked really well keeping these apples from oxidizing, so thank you so much to whoever suggested that. That's probably maxed out on how many apples I can fit in here. So now I'm gonna start on the lattice. Now, since this is a higher level recipe, I want to add some little decor around the sides. So I'm gonna make some little scalloped edges, see how that turns out. And now I want to add a little apple to the center here. All right, we have my fully decorated apple pie here. Now I just have to put the sauce on top. I have what is essentially a caramel here. I hope it's not too thick. Yeah, this is a little bit thick. I might add some more water to this so that way it can seep into these apples. I feel like I should have poured this on here before I did the lattice. It's too late now. The water definitely helped. It is ready to bake. Here is the completed pie. As you can see, my little balls fell off. I have a feeling that's because I didn't use an egg wash, so it wasn't really sticking in any way. It's whatever. Some of them stayed on. And my apple, it doesn't look like an apple anymore, but it's there. Hi guys, a new sim has joined the family. Naga Bazaz.
Naga Bazaz.
He just repeated the same thing to me.
I just repeated the same
I asked
thing.
him how he was and he said,
How are you?
Drew's joining out of the goodness of his heart, by the way.
Really
he really
struggling.
doesn't like apple pie.
Bang it.
That's my level 8 shining through.
Yipsy Bonica too.
I think Drew liked it. I really liked it. My skill is definitely improving here.
It slaps.
The baconing cupcakes. Look at that. Delicious and nutritious. It is becoming increasingly obvious. I can deny it no longer. I am a level 8, so I have to cook the cupcakes from scratch. Let us not delay. So I'm gonna start by adding some maple syrup to a bowl. Definitely don't have enough. Good thing I have a backup. Oh, it was a very different color. And then some bourbon. And I'm going to stir this up. I have a baking sheet here with some parchment paper. The parchment paper is not optional because the sugar will essentially get baked into this pan and it will be incredibly difficult to get off. Cleaning up just regular bacon off of a pan is already difficult, let alone baked on caramelized sugar. The recipe I'm linking below does also note this, so hopefully if you decide to follow that recipe, you see that note and you don't ruin your pan. Voila! So the next step is to put some of the maple syrup bourbon mixture on top of these. Sprinkle some brown sugar on top. Now I'm gonna go ahead and flip these over and do the same thing on the other side. Now this is going to go into the oven until it is caramelized. I'm gonna start by adding the dry ingredients to this bowl. Some all-purpose flour, baking powder, and a baking soda, as well as some salt. Setting this to the side. Into this bowl, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of browned butter, light brown sugar, vanilla extract, some buttermilk, and finally, 2 eggs. I can crack an egg with one hand, but only my right hand. And finally, some maple syrup and bourbon. Now I'm gonna go ahead and whisk this all together. Now I'm gonna put these in the oven and then get working on the icing. 1 cup of browned butter, powdered sugar. I'm also gonna add in a little bit of salt. Finally, I'm going to add, of course, the maple syrup and bourbon. Drew really does not like bourbon, so I don't know how he's gonna be with these, but hopefully he can stomach it.
I love
Go ahead and grab
bourbon.
one.
It is my favorite by far.
That's pretty good. These are the best cupcakes I've made so far. You know, it goes to show that potentially box mix is not as good as homemaking cupcakes.
Yipsy Bonica too.
Did you say Ipsy or Yipsy? With that, I have leveled up to level 9. Kiopino, chopping up some fish and some shrimp. All right, let's pour this out. And now we got Kiopino, which is like a seafood stew or a seafood soup. We have a couple new ingredients that I've never worked with before, such as mussels and clam juice. Didn't know that was a thing. olive oil, and some finely chopped onions. Now that I am a level 9, I should have the skill set to throw this up in the air and catch it again. I gotta do it like the Sims do it, okay? I did not expect to catch that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought I was gonna drop that. But now back to serious matters because we are adding garlic to the onion. How many cloves does it say to do? My recipe says 3 cloves. So you know we're gonna add more. Now it's time to add the wine. I have picked a Chardonnay. So this has reduced. Now we're adding the delicious clam juice. Smells like clams. You open it up and it's like, kind of punches you in the face, and it's a bit more neutral. Now I'm adding some crushed tomatoes. Oh, about a teaspoon of salt, some crushed red pepper. That is a lot. I'm actually gonna take out a little bit of that because I do not want this to be spicy. Oregano. I'm gonna add in a little bit of basil as well. Then also a cup of water. And now I'm going to let this cook for a while and we will prepare the fish. So here is the fish of choice. I have some salmon here. I'm going to lay it out on a baking sheet. And now I'm going to dress it with a little bit of olive oil. Wow, that is not a little bit. And some salt. Rub that in a bit and then flip it over and do the same on the other side. Now that this has been cooking for a while, it is time to add in the shrimp. And this should only need about 5 minutes to cook. And then I'm also going to add in these mussels. They are fully cooked. They mainly just need to warm up. I almost forgot I'm supposed to add in 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter right at the end. After this melts, now it'll be ready to taste test. I'm not gonna lie, I do not really like seafood stew. However, Drew is here because he loves seafood stew. So you'll get 2 opinions from this.
Sauce is nice and garlicky, tomatoey, and oily and good.
I do really like the butter. I'm not a fan of red sauce and I'm not a fan of seafood stew, but for what it is delicious. We have our first level 10 recipe, roast chicken. Can we focus, please? How is this making a Oh, I see. The chicken was in the stove, and then we poured all the roast vegetables or something in there. I don't know. Oh yeah, look at it go. What was that? I bet I dropped the little spice container. That's probably what it was. Beautiful roast chicken. So first, I'm gonna start by separating the skin here. Now I have a little pocket that I'm going to add 2 little slices of butter to. And now I have some fresh basil picked from my garden, and I'm going to add a few of these leaves in there as well. And now to the cavity, I'm also going to stuff that with a bit of basil. I also normally would put some citrus in here, but I'm just gonna do some lemon juice because I do not have any fresh lemons. I'm also going to add some garlic, some minced garlic. Into the cavity it goes. And now I'm going to coat this in olive oil, salt, and pepper. I have been washing my hands in between, by the way, don't worry. All right, now I'm going to elevate this chicken on a little baking pan and then plop it in the oven. Now we're gonna prepare the basting liquid. So here I have a half a cup of water, and I'm gonna add some of this Better Than Bouillon seasoned vegetable base, probably about that much. And I'm also going to add a half a cup of Chardonnay. And set this aside for later. Because I have to baste, I am going to move this chicken to a slightly smaller rack. Now I'm gonna go ahead and pour the basting juices over the hen and then put this back in the oven for another 30, and then I'm going to baste it with its juices every 10-ish minutes. That was incredible. I think that was a good first level 10 recipe. I think that braise was the right decision. Absolutely delicious. We have finally arrived at the last and most difficult recipe, tuna casserole. That looks like a brain. It's a little creepy. That's a new texture. I haven't seen that before. All right, we poured it in there. It's in the casserole dish. We're waiting on it to cook. Oh, we opened it up and we poured some spices on. Okay. Now it's done. Yum! Look at that. I'm proud of myself. You can see it in my eyes. Tuna casserole. Who would have known that was peak performance right there, making tuna casserole? I'm starting by making the crumb topping. I have a tablespoon of butter here. I'm going to add a half a cup of panko, as well as a half a cup of cheddar cheese, and then some dried parsley. Now I'm going to mix it together and then set this aside. Here are 3 cups of egg noodles that I'm going to cook until they are al dente. And while the noodles are cooking, I'm going to fry up some veggies. So I added some butter to a pan, and here I have some chopped celery and onions. Now to a large bowl, I'm going to add all of the casserole ingredients. I have the noodles, I have the vegetables, some green peas, shredded cheddar, cream of mushroom condensed soup, a can and a half of tuna, milk, and some parsley. Now I'm going to mix this all together and then add it to my baking dish. And now finally, I'm going to top it with the breadcrumb mixture. Now I just gotta put this in the oven and then it's done.
Tuna casserole.
This is one of those dishes where I could eat too much of it. And that doesn't happen very frequently.
It's comfort food, and I'm feeling quite comfy.
So freaking good. And that is all 58 Sims 4 recipes. Thank you for watching. Thank you to our Patreon and YouTube members. And I'll see you after your next quest, adventurer. Pumpkin's like, I want some tuna casserole. Shh, don't tell anybody.